Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Julia Chinnock, a member of the 1U worship team and serving as a worship associate today. With me in today's service are Reverend Margalie Belizaire, DLRE Judith Stein-Farrall, Director of Music Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, and the Chalice Choir. Board President Joan Nelson, Andy Berry, also representing the board, Jennifer Homblette Allen, Elizabeth Horn, the McGuire Laguerre family, And of course, much gratitude to all of the wonderful 1U teams whose efforts ensure that we are able to gather in worship this morning. You make this all happen. Please note that while children are always welcome to join us in service, the nursery is open to toddlers through pre-K Sunday morning starting at 9:30. And our children are with us this morning and will be sung out to their classes in the Enrichment Center after the time for all ages. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation and announcements, you can go to orlandouu.org or email info@orlandouu.org. We have two special announcements today. So as many of you saw in our weekly update, we have our sign up for t-shirts. Yay! We had a little hiccup waiting for confirmation from the shop, but if you scan the code that's up on the screen now, you can submit your order. Since we're taking pre-orders, we want to make sure that we have a nice bulk order for the shop to prepare us. So please make sure to submit your order by June 11th. And then, don't forget, our annual meeting is next Sunday at 12 p.m. All other announcements are on the slides before and after the service, have links in the weekly update or on our website. The order of service can be accessed via the QR code up on the screen right now. Please note that a link to the weekly update is now at the bottom of the order of service. Please click on it to view what's going on at 1U. Thanks again for being here in person and online today. May you have the Mother's Day you need.
Good morning, friends. Please join me in reading this special Mother's Day chalice lighting by Claudine Olivia. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one baby, child, or youth into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time, money, and energy to the growth of others in the world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love. Please rise, embody your spirit, and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 1010, We Give Thanks. The words will be projected on the screen.
We give thanks. We are used to having one verse, but the composer, Wendy Luella Perkins, has written a second verse, which we have permission for today. You'll see it on the slides. Don't look in the hymnal. It won't be there.
We just want to add one little correction as far as who's with us in the service. Instead of Joan Nelson, board member, it will be board member Andy Berry with us today. And it is so good to be with you in community this morning on Mother's Day. I hope you have the Mother's Day you need today as we celebrate this potentially complicated holiday. This Mother's Day, we are honoring those mothering school-age children and the littlest ones here in Florida. You have had to meet so many challenges, especially dealing with a pandemic, and unlike your counterparts in other parts of the state, you are also dealing with recent bills and laws in our state that, with regard to your children's education and access to medical care, that go against our UU values. So this Mother's Day, we honor and we support you. May you know that you are loved here in your 1U community. And I call us to worship with the words of Mary J. Harrington. We come together today in praise and thanksgiving for the gift of life itself. Someone gave birth to us, and some of us have given birth. All of us have been mothered in our time, and all of us have mothered. Let our time today be one of recognition that we arrive from so many places, joy and delight, wistfulness and longing and worry, unmet needs and unfulfilled dreams, loss and sorrow, loss and emptiness, loss and regret, and that life is made of, mothers are made of too. Today we sing the songs of so many mothers who are single parents, single foster parents, mothers who relinquished their young out of necessity, mothers who found their heart in adoption, mothers who left their children in 1,000 ways, mothers who rejoice and mothers who mourn. We sing the songs of the grandmother, the auntie, the classroom teacher, the Sunday school teacher, the babysitter, the neighbor with endless cookies and time. There is a kind of love we cannot live without. It is never too late, no matter our age or situation. We sing a song of gratitude for all the moments of being known, being cherished, being found. Come, beloveds, let us worship together and let us greet one another. And make sure, if you know someone is a mother or mothering, to greet them and let them know and wish them a happy Mother's Day.
Feeling it this morning. Sat there while Reverend Margalie was going through all the lists of how mothers are mothers, and I just kind of, oh my gosh, took it all in. So I have a short time for all ages sort of story this morning, a discussion, and then we are going to do a little interactive piece. Up on the screen, I have a picture. Do we recognize this little one here? Do we know anything about them? Anyone just shout it out? Yes, ma'am. Really loud. What else do we know? Anybody else know anything? Some of you may have read the RE update and seen some news about, yes. The what is poisonous? The coral is poisonous. Yeah, go ahead. Wow, you know a lot about the fish. They're protected, right? Right? How awesome is that? So here's a little another piece of fact about clownfish. All clownfish are born male. Change gender. Yes, as it says up there, it's simplified science, but it's accurate science. Morning is, next slide please. If you're doing the work of mothering, if you're doing what mothers do, then you qualify. This morning, I'm going to invite all the children in the room up to pick up here one packet, one little gift. So please send your children up to pick up that one packet. Are you going to get them out, Reverend Margalie? Okay. And that is to give to your mother or mother representative in your household. Okay. And there is a... Reverend Margalie, and I can't even stay for the rest of the service. All right. And now, our children, if you will, classes in the Enrichment Center.
I'm Andy Berry, a member of the Board of Trustees, your Board of Trustees. We invite you now into a practice of generosity. It's one of our spiritual values that sustains the life and ministries of our church community. Let us be grateful for the opportunity to give, for it is a privilege. Today's full collection will go to the ministries of the congregation. Also, please note that the Share the Plate partner for the month of May is the New Image Youth Center. You can use the link in the newsletter or the screen or on the screen to donate directly to them, and please let one you know that you have donated. The offering will now be collected, and note that you can also give online using the link.
We
Let us joyfully receive what has been offered here today in the spirit of gratitude and fellowship.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Allen, and I am a member of this church. Many years ago, I read the book, "We Wish to Inform You That Tomorrow We Will Be Killed with Our Families" by Philip Gorovich. The book is about the 1994 Rwandan genocide, where over the course of about 100 days, the Hutu ethnic majority, which was historically more marginalized, indiscriminately killed people from the Tutsi minority, whom had held the monarchy until about 1962 with the country's revolution. These ethnic groups had a history of violence for They had a history of violence several times before, but this time it was far worse. The book also tells the gruesome stories of survivors and the violence that they endured, in many cases by neighbors and other by neighbors and other people that they knew. Many parts of that story have stayed with me over the years, but one in particular is that of a mother who decides not to tell her daughter about the history and existing tensions that the two ethnic groups had. She wanted her child to just be a kid and have a happy, unburdened childhood. I did not have children 20 years ago, and this was when I read this book, and I felt very, very strongly that this mom should have talked to her children, to her child, about the terrible realities of their society. I felt strongly that this lack of knowledge left her child completely confused and in the dark when the genocide started, and when her classmates and friends turned violent towards her. Today, I am the parent of a very curious 5-year-old as well as a 16-month-old. And in my very short journey as a mother, I have a more nuanced understanding for why the Rwandan mother decided not to tell her children about the realities happening around them. And interestingly, as my daughter has gotten older, it had been my inclination to keep her from the history of violence, slavery, racism, homophobia, sexism, transphobia, and all the other challenges that comprise the terrible realities of our society. Exactly like the Rwandan mother, I too wanted my child to have a happy, unburdened childhood. It was another book that changed my mind completely. Recently, my wife, Kirsten, encouraged me to read How to Raise an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. And I remember thinking to myself, I am a conscious Black person living in the United States. What is a book gonna teach me about teaching my kids about racism, and specifically that I myself have not lived before? But surprisingly, I learned a lot. And I got so much from reading this book that it's changed my philosophy on what I teach my kids and also how honest I am about it. I now have a very different perception about resilience and the power of understanding what's happening around you and why that's happening. I have come full circle by coming back to disagreeing with that Rwandan mother, but for very, very different reasons now. In our house, my wife and I, we no longer avoid subjects that we think might put ideas in our daughter's head that she didn't have before. Like the fact that our society will stop her from doing certain things simply because of who she is, or that our society will set different standards of behavior for her than her white counterparts because of her brown skin. We try hard not to shy away from talking about slavery or subjects that we might think will make her feel inferior. Instead, we use the power that we have as parents to shape the narrative. We say things like, how silly are those people to think that you should be treated badly because your skin is black and theirs is white? Or that you should be thought of as less beautiful because you have curls and they do not. Our choice to frame the conversation this way puts the onus on the larger systems of oppression and not on my children. We are teaching her, and eventually our son, that we're teaching her about how our society accepts things that don't make sense, that are unjust, that are unkind, and which have nothing to do with her self-worth or the truth of her inherent value. Living in the South, and specifically in Florida, feels very challenging these days. Our governor is attacking many aspects of my family's identity with bills against immigration, bills against teaching critical race theory, misinformation about healthcare, etc. Still, it is our trans siblings in our community who are the most affected by many of these attacks, with bills that limit access to hormone treatment, the ability to use pronouns that more closely align a gender or lack thereof, the ability to talk to a trusted grown-up about how you're feeling, and other life-saving gender-affirming care. As a mother, I feel a great responsibility to talk honestly to my kids about the reality of how things are today, not just because we're part of the many communities our state government is attacking, but because we're part of the beloved community at large. Today, they are coming hard for our trans siblings, but it's all a slippery slope for them to come for the rest of us, for our environmentalism, for our feminism, for our liberalism, for our anti-racism, etc. I want my children to be ready for it, to recognize it for what it is, to be resilient and strong enough to fight against it, and to make their world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for reminding us of the Tutsi genocide and the similarities it has to today's events, and how what's happening, especially to our trans siblings, is in a way a sort of genocide. And it may seem a heavy word to put on that, but it certainly could lead to that. So thank you for that reminder. And this is the time we set aside for deep sharing of our hearts and for prayer and meditation. If you have a sorrow that you need witnessed or help with, or a joy that you wish to share, please contribute to our collective sharing of joys and sorrows to be read each Sunday here. You can do so by emailing us during the week. joysandconcerns@orlandouu.org is the email address. You can also fill out a card on Sunday mornings when you come in if you're attending in person. And another way we offer you a way to participate in this time is, of course, our candle lighting ritual that we invite you to participate in. So bring your joys and your sorrows as we come together. Come as you are, all of you. Your whole self is welcome in the sacred space we create together. Today's flowers are provided by Linda Piantieri in celebration of Mother's Day. Libby shares, let's send all of our positive healing energy to Jen Wolin as she faces health challenges. Jay and Jan were members of 1U for many years before Jay took the path to become a Unitarian Universalist minister and is called minister at UU Church of Sarasota. So let's send healing and positive energy to the Wolin family. We have sorrow from Marianne Horn. Please send positive energy to Cammie Horn as she begins. No, it's exciting news, actually. I hear send positive energy, So, yeah, as Cammie Horn, as she began an adventure in Thailand studying music therapy techniques and Asian music, as well as Thai culture. That's really wonderful. And we hold the fears and sorrows of all mothers and their beloveds that are affected by brutality of war and other situations that are beyond their control. Let us send loving kindness to those in crisis, those in pain and our suffering. And for all the joys and sorrows shared and those held close to the heart, let us pray, let us celebrate, and let us send healing energy. This morning, I know that last week it was announced that Ben McKay died. But this morning we want to light a candle for him. So I think just about everybody who knows Ben knows how beloved he was and how loved he was in this community, and he will be greatly missed. And so today we want to light a candle for Ben. So we want to light this candle, and also this is just, today we're simply lighting this candle. We will fully celebrate and honor Ben's life during his memorial service, which will be held on July 1st here at 3 p.m. And I want to share this reading that Ben's daughters sent and wanted me to share here with you today. It's a poem, it's a reading that Lisa found in a book that Ben gave to her years ago. The very best thing we can do, both in grieving and in supporting others in their grief, is to articulate the ways in which the one who has been lost to us will be carried forward in our lives. This is a great challenge of life in the face of loss. Can we make of our lives also to our dead, and so through our lives give them life? Who lives on in you? in small parts, when I am patient, funny, or generous, when I tell stories or talk about the weather, when I am kind, especially to children and elders, when I love without condition, my grandfather lives on in me and among us, and my grief gives way to joy. So it may be for all of us. May our grief give way to joy. Kim Crawford Harvey. And so when you're feeling sad or you're missing Ben, just think about the ways he has impacted your life and what part of him may be living in you, which may give you some comfort and change your grief to joy. So I will now invite us into guided meditation with a slightly modified version of Finding Your Center by Joan Johnson Lewis. This is for all of us, but of course it is especially for those mothering school-age children and our little ones, the littlest ones. I will advise you that this is a true guided meditation, so sit as comfortably as you can. Now, breathe. Breathe deeply and fully. Breathe in. Take air into your body to nourish you. Breathe out, letting go of what your body no longer needs. Just breathe. Consciously center your attention on your body and your breath. If you notice distractions from inside and out, just let them be. Imagine or sense within you your own center, nourished and protected by your breath. Take your time to do this, and when you are feeling centered in yourself, let your focus shift to also those around you here. Sense in your imagination a connection from your center to the center of one of those others around you. Imagine it's an invisible thread, one between you and another person. Just imagine that. Now, another thread to another person. Thread after thread after thread, each between your center and the center of another. As your mind takes in all these threads, sense or imagine also the threads that start from each of those other people and connect to one another and to you, weaving invisible net of connection. And imagine threads coming from those individuals to others as well. Center to center, true and best self to true and best self. Breathe in a sense of the connection from others to the preciousness in you. Now breathe out a sense of your connecting to those precious others. And those who are mothering school-age children and the smallest one, it is especially important to be as present as you can be in this moment and feel that sense of connection from others here in this church community to your preciousness, to the preciousness in you. Breathe in connection to your center. Breathe out connection from your center. Breathe, center, connect. Feel the power that flows from your center through those threads, through other centers, and back to you. Breathing, centered in the present. Then imagine a thread from the present you are experiencing, to the future. What from this experience do you want to carry with you into that future? What is a choice you want to make about how you want to be in that future, connecting to your center and connecting to that invisible net of threads, center to center? As you continue to wrestle in this challenging time as Florida residents, reflect on these questions for yourself while holding on tightly to the idea that this too shall change. Whether it's the circumstances that change or you that changes. Take a few moments to imagine yourself in that future with that intention fulfilled. Then back to your center in the present. Breathe in with what nourishes you, out with what you no longer need. Take a few more breaths, then come back to conscious presence in this moment, in this room, in the space where you are, with these others who are here. And with this sense of connection, we invite you to participate in our candle lighting ritual, which is both an invitation and an opportunity to challenge us to continue to go inward. Today, it is an opportunity to connect with our center and see what may be stirring for us. giving us this moment of stillness to see what wisdom we can find from within. I hope you accept this invitation and participate in our ritual by either remaining in your seat, reflecting, or coming forward to our candle altar. I invite you to reflect on our connection with one another and how we need one another. If not that, please find a way to use this time to reflect deeply.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you in concert with what's already been shared today. Our daughter was in kindergarten in spring 2020 when the world shut down due to COVID-19. Our son turned 1 on March 15th that year, the day before the theme parks shut down, which for me as a Central Floridian was the day I realized things had gotten real. Over those next few months, our parenting routine was flipped on its head, as I know it was for parents and caregivers all over the world. My husband and I are both educators, and we were fortunate to be able to stay home with our children during that time. And in fact, I even found myself with extra time and energy to invest in my kids. My daughter and I built marionettes and put on a puppet show. We camped outside. We created and produced shows for my son, our audience of 1. And we went through a lot of sidewalk chalk. It was exhausting, but fun and rewarding. And I felt grateful to be able to channel my energies in this way. I can do this for now, I thought, and I held on tightly. That summer, I found myself consumed by anxiety for what the next year would hold. And again, I know many parents felt the same way. Should we send our daughter back to school and our youngest back to daycare, try homeschool, virtual school, or launch ed? I searched and searched for the right answer for our family and found that most, not all, but most of the people engaging in this inquiry were mothers. Together, women labored, organized, and sacrificed to figure out education and childcare, things that we seem to have forgotten help our modern society to function. Women who could pooled together resources to hire nannies or tutors. Women left the workforce. Women juggled remote work and virtual schooling, while many sent their children to school either because they knew it was best for their child's needs or because they had to work and had no other choice. For me, I negotiated a cap, and it still meant a year of half-time homeschooling, full-time work, negotiating schedules, logistics, and educational choices with another family, and carting the kids back and forth between our houses. I remember the day I went to wake my son up from his nap. He was about 1.5 years at that point, when I realized that he had created poop art all over his crib and walls. So I called the other mom in a panic, and she graciously agreed to pick up the kids. And then I threw my son in the tub and started scrubbing him. I started laundry. I washed the walls in the crib. I vacuumed. Then I washed my hands and I wiped my brow with just enough time to sit down in front of my computer to begin my next Zoom class. I can do this for just a little while longer, I thought, my grip starting to slip. At that point, it seemed like making it through that era of pandemic parenting would be the hardest thing that we as a collective society would face with our children. Now, looking back, I can see the challenges of those times, but feel grateful for the ways in which my personal circumstances allowed me to spend more time with our kids, to make meaningful memories with them, and to help them learn and grow in new and exciting ways. Now, in the face of the hateful and agenda-driven state legislation we currently face in Florida, much of which is focused on education and the so-called protection of youth, I've come to realize that my work as a parent, struggling to raise good humans in spite of our failing society, is far from over. And with all of the things that we've already been speaking about in this service, I find myself again weighing the educational choices for my kids. Do we move out of state, out of the country, return to homeschool, explore charter or private school options? What repercussions would these choices have on my children's sense of stability? And if everyone who was able to fled the Florida public school system, what would that mean for the students left behind? What would it mean for us to stay? The other day on the drive home from school with my daughter, the conversation turned to the anti-LGBTQ agenda being pushed by the state. We talked about books, about bathrooms, about pronouns, and what's at stake. Then my 9-year-old daughter looked at me with tears in her eyes and she asked, "Is Mr. Gannay going to be okay?" Mr. Gannay, Ansley's beloved second grade teacher from last year. Mr. Gannay, an openly gay man who decorates his classroom in rainbows and self-affirmations, who has a stage in his classroom complete with a disco ball, who holds dance parties so his little kids can get their wiggles out. I paused, not knowing how to respond. Yes, Mr. Gannay is going to be okay, I tell her and myself. Mr. Gannay is smart and resourceful and strong. And then we engage in a conversation about how we can show love to others. What can we as individuals do if a student is not allowed to use the bathroom that aligns with their gender identity, or if a teacher is unable to call a student by their correct pronouns? How can we do our part to do good in this world? We explore these issues, and I pause to acknowledge the privileges that my children have in their whiteness, my son's male privilege, our privilege of class, that we may focus our conversation on the feelings and needs of others. And yet we know when some of us are not safe, none of us are safe. And the pain I feel is vast for my children and all children as they begin the long and hard process of identity formation. As young people feel the stirring of self within them and see this wave of bigoted legislation and hear this rhetoric, it would seem easier, safer for them to simply deny themselves of authenticity, to conform wherever possible. So maybe I'll look back and feel grateful for this time, like I do in reflection of the pandemic. I'll look back and be grateful that this time taught me that I cannot passively assume the education system is working as designed, or rather, I can no longer naively accept that the way it was designed was ever intended to serve all children. For now, I do what I have to do. We read books, we ask hard questions, we notice and celebrate diversity. I seek community for my children, and I turn to you now, my beloved community, to beg you to help me provide safety to my children in this world. Know that every time you see my children as whole humans with inherent dignity and worth, every time you validate them, every time you intentionally carve space for them within the larger body of this congregation, you are living the mission of this church. Once again, as a mother, I must advocate for my children, for all of our children, where society fails to. What other choice do I have? I tell myself, I can do this for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for reminding us, really, COVID is not over. Certainly, giving us a breather and to remind us how really the job of a parent, job of those mothering is just never done. And I want to, I don't think today's service, prayer for Florida mothers, for me would be complete without doing a blessing ritual here. So I will first invite those who are mothering school-aged children and the little one to come forward. Come as close as you can to the chancel facing forward, and lock arms or touch elbows if you are comfortable with that. So come as close as you can. I want also to remind you, you get to self-identify if you are mothering at this point. And if you are not comfortable with touching, or to either stay in your seat or stand to the side. So we're waiting as folks come forward. And by being forward, you're giving consent to being touched. All right. So if you could come forward a little bit more, because I'm hoping there'll be a lot more people behind you as we do this. Yes. And so now I'm inviting those who have mothered or are actively mothering to come forward. And as you come forward, you can come forward. As you come forward, to lay your hands on the first row of people here. Lay your hands on their shoulders. And if you don't have, if there's not room for you to lay your hands on their shoulders, to lay your hands on the shoulder of someone who has their hands on them. Now, I am inviting everyone else who is willing and able to come forward. Lay your hands on the back of those who are already up. Yes, just come forward, lay your hands on their shoulders. And if you choose to remain in your seat, and you are willing and able to do so, if you would raise your hands, and as if you're sending energy in the particular direction of those in front of us. And if you could imagine the meditation we did, those threads that we talked about connecting us one to the other. Okay. So, may the spirit of love and compassion surround you and all who are mothering in Florida, navigating the challenges of mothering school-aged children and little ones during these trying times. May you find strength and resilience in your role as caregivers, and may your love for your children be a guiding light that helps you overcome any obstacles in your way. May your UU values inspire you to lead with love, empathy, and justice, especially in the face of recent anti-LGBTQ+ and race theory legislation. May you be empowered to speak out against injustice and work towards creating a more equitable and inclusive world. And may you know that this community here surrounds you and loves you and supports you. May you know, may you feel, may you have deep knowing that you are not alone. May you be so blessed. And the little packets of candy that you had before, there is also a shorter blessing for you. And there are some candies left over here for those who did not get one. So if you would, with this blessing, if you would take your time and slowly return to your seats as we wrap up. hands, let's rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Beloved parents, may you have deep knowing that you are loved and supported. May you feel surrounded by this community. May you call this community to account. And may you be so blessed. Worship has ended, dear ones, and now the service truly begins. And our call for action this week is very simple. Write a letter and support to a mother, whether you write it to the mother, whether you feel moved to write to the politicians, whatever it is, write a letter and support of a mother. So that's your call to action this week. The Laguerre family would extinguish the chalice for us. McGuire Laguerre.
We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of goodness. These are here in our hearts until we are together again.